John Mullins, author of Getting to Plan B, has got a new book coming out on getting companies funded literally by their customers. John, we were just talking, there are no bad businesses, just bad business models. Talk a little bit about the importance of the business model.
Well, for so many companies, it's just a sort of a hand-to-mouth day-to-day existence that just can't grow because some element of the business model just isn't right. Maybe the customers don't really want what you're selling all that much, or maybe the gross margins, just aren't enough to cover the cost structure. There's all kinds of issues. The whole airline industry has a bad business model, except Ryanair and Southwest and the few discount carriers that have really figured out how to do it radically differently. So in every industry, I think there's a way to change something in typically just one of the 5 elements of a business model. But if you do that, you can do what Zara's done to apparel retailing, you can do what Ryanair and Southwest have done to airline, Costco, what they've done to general merchandising. Incredible potential if you get the business model right.
Yeah. And you mentioned that there's 5 elements. What are these 5 key elements of the business model?
So there's the revenue model. So who's going to buy? What are they going to buy? Why are they going to buy? How much are they going to buy? What's it going to cost you to get them in the door so they buy?
And I think you mentioned, and it never struck me that Apple with iTunes really used reverse razor blade model. They made money off of the razor, and they gave the razor blades away at the 99 cents.
Flipped it upside down. Yeah. Ingenious, and one of the most shrewd moves Steve Jobs made, of many he made. But that was the key to making the economics work.
And the next one?
That meant that the iPod had to be really good, but of course it was.
Yeah. The next one?
Yep. Your gross margin model. So how can you find a way to make that gross margin much wider than everybody else in your industry does? Zynga is a great example. They sell games like Farmville, and you pay real money for a tractor when it costs Zynga nothing to sell that tractor. Unbelievable.
Well, and most of the software companies got big because of those huge gross margins that they had.
The incremental cost of selling another copy of software in a SaaS model? Practically nothing, right? Incredible gross margin models. Your operating model, that's what the discount airlines have done. They've just put red lines through stuff on the cost statement. So we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. Or Oberoi Hotels, they add cost to those to make it ever more, discerning for their special customer.
And that becomes a blocking strategy if you're willing to spend a lot more. And at the same time, you and I see companies all the time that are spending money on things that are nice to haves, but at the end of the day, the customer will still do business with you without those extras. All you're doing is giving away margin.
The one where I see so much potential often is on the working capital model, where people find a way. It turns out I've discovered 5 different ways to do this. Right. They're in the new book, The Customer-Funded Business, but there are 5 ways to build a business so the customer is giving you money before you have to give it to your suppliers. It is not rocket science. Yeah. But companies that do that and have the courage to ask for the money, you got to have courage to ask for the order, but you might as well ask for the money too, right?
Yeah.
Incredible potential.
Well, one of the things Neil Rackham's research found is that a lot of the large companies are surprised that smaller firms don't ask for all the money up front because the middle manager they're selling to, that's the best way for him or her to protect their budget, is to get it out the door.
Yeah, exactly.
So that somebody inside is not going to grab a hold of it. And we've got clients that are taking advantage of that before we're getting paid in 60, 90, 120 days. And then what's this last business model?
So then there's the investment model. So Skype was started on practically no money because they were ingenious enough to say, well, gee, you don't need a phone to make a phone call, and you need software, but let's distribute that software and put it peer-to-peer. There are ways in many industries, not all industries, of course, where you can find ways not to invest. You borrow it, you rent it, you share it. You don't always need to buy it. And
one of the early articles
Airbnb, for example, right?
Yes. Yeah, they've got no asset ownership there like you would a hotel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one of the early articles I wrote for Fortune, we highlighted a company that designed a new hip, and they borrowed a very expensive CAD system in the evenings in exchange for teaching that company some of the cool things that you could do with the system they didn't understand. So we can always...
Don't need on it.
You got it. John, I know it's critical that We work out these business models. How many does it take? How many plans? A, B, C, D?
You know, Randy Commissar and I studied the phenomenon in lots of depth in writing getting to Plan B. And there were a few companies we found where Plan A actually worked, but they were the vast minority, right? Sometimes it's just kind of one tweak over to Plan B, and that works pretty well. For PayPal, it was Plan G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the seventh application of Max's technology that really worked. There's no magic number. You just have to keep running experiments, inexpensive experiments, ideally.
Yeah.
And you run one and you measure and you say, yeah, that worked. Okay, we go further. Or nope, that didn't work. Okay, let's try this. But you got to get an experimental mindset into the company, and that's one of the things that not enough companies do. They say, oh, I got to make a plan and then I got to execute the plan. I say, go do an experiment, figure out if that is on track, and then build a plan to execute.
And that's why I think we're all excited about the lean startup work that Eric's doing.
Yeah, it's terrific.
You know, let's do a lot of iterations fast, but I think the problem is startups are understanding that, but existing companies, maybe because we got too many resources, aren't taking that same lesson to heart with their own internal innovation.
You're right.
Good.
Yeah.
John, always great to have you here. Thank you.
Fantastic, Verne. Thank you.